Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today is something I'd rather discuss sooner rather than later, and this one very well may divide opinions. Now, as you know, I've been looking for a second bike for a number of weeks and months, and during that period a lot of you guys suggested taking a look at various Chinese models. Now I have to admit I was a little bit tempted. I spent quite a long time looking at reviews, YouTube reviews, all that kind of stuff, feeding the brain with as much information as I could. And what I did find is the Chinese models are cheaper, and at least on paper they're very well spec'd. But in the end I went with this, the Honda NX500, and here is why I didn't go Chinese. Now the appeal is easy to see. You've got brands like CFMoto and Vosges that are often recommended, and for good reason. Price alone is a huge factor because you can get a CFMoto or a Vosges for thousands of pounds cheaper than their European or Japanese equivalents. Admittedly, I think some of the designs are genuinely sharp and look fantastic, and they do come as standard with a lot more equipment. So you get such things as a TFT screen, backlit controls, ABS, branded suspension and brakes. On paper, there's no denying that it is a very tempting proposition. And at the time of this video, as an example, you can get a CFMoto 450 for around 5,699, and if you were to buy this, the Honda NX500, it's around 6,899. And by the time you throw in the official luggage options, the side bags and the top box, for Honda it's around £900, and for CFMoto it's around £700. So all in combined, it's a saving of around £1,400, which is probably your next 5 years worth of servicing. So in terms of appeal of Chinese bikes, the appearance, the standard equipment and their price, the appeal is definitely there. Now here's where it gets interesting. These are the main reasons why I didn't go Chinese. The main thing that held me back was the lack of reviews. So there's plenty of first ride reviews out there, but there's not many that show what the 10,000 mile, 20,000 mile reliability is like. And that's not forgetting how they hold up on the UK roads with all the rusting, all the salt that's on the roads, and how the engine holds up. Chinese products do appear to be improving, but they've had such a reputation for such a long time for weaker build quality, rusting parts, electrical issues, that it's just hard to shake. Even if it is improving, it still made me very cautious to part with my own money to go out and buy a Chinese bike. To counter that, and on the plus side, as a lot of people have probably seen, Vosges are producing engines for BMW, and CFMoto seem to have some connection with KTM. So that does give you a little extra sign of confidence, but is it enough? I'm not too sure. Another big factor for me, or concern should we say, is the dealership network. Now, as you know, I've got a Honda and a Street Triple, and I'm confident that no matter where I am in the world, I'll be able to get servicing and parts without too much of an issue. With Chinese brands, and from what I've seen and what I've researched into when I've been looking at buying a bike, their dealership network, at least here in the UK or up in the northeast, is very, very limited. I've seen plenty of stories online where a CFMoto or Vosges or similar has some sort of a problem. They take it back to their local dealer, whoever that may be, and then they've got to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for a replacement part. And just to add to that, when I was looking into the CFMoto 450, I wasn't able to actually organise a test ride, which for me, if I was going to buy a Chinese bike, at the very least I'd want to take it out for a couple of hours and see what it was like. And one of the most common repeated comments that I've seen, if anybody has anything negative to say about Chinese bikes, what people tend to say is it was the same with Japanese bikes back in the 70s and 80s, which may have been the case back then. I can't comment on that, but that doesn't automatically mean that in the next 10-20 years the same's going to happen with Chinese bikes. You just don't know how that's going to play out. What I can see happening, and this is slightly controversial, I believe that Chinese bikes are going to bring down the overall price of motorbikes, which is fantastic, but at the same time I think they're going to bring down the overall quality. Now, I may be made to eat me words, and if I'm wrong, perfectly acceptable, I accept that, but it's the same kind of thing that's happening with cars at the minute. Now, if you go out and buy a brand new car, generally speaking, not all of them, the quality is very poor. There's a lot of plastic parts in there, cheap parts, reliability's out the window, you've got wet belts, all this kind of stuff. Go back 10-20 years, cars were so much better in terms of the overall build quality. But the funny thing is with cars that the price is going up and the quality is going down. And next up is why the Honda NX500 and the Triumph Street Triple were the two bikes that I chose. In the end, I wanted something proven and something that I knew I could rely on. Both machines may not be the cheapest out there, but Honda and Triumph have decades of engineering experience behind them with all the lessons learned that's got them to the point where they are today. Chinese brands are seemingly improving quite fast, but let's see where they are in a couple of years' time. And it could very well be that we'll see some very well-made, reliable machines. But right now, for me, the balance of reliability, proven quality, and support in terms of the dealership networks just tip the scales away from Chinese bikes. Now, I know a lot of you out there already own Chinese bikes, but everything I've said today is purely based on my opinion on what I've seen and read over the last couple of years. What I will say is my decision isn't based around any sort of bias. It's more towards practicality and my own confidence levels. The NX500 and also the Street Triple just felt like the smarter choice for the kinds of riding I do here in the UK and then hopefully when I head out to further abroad. All that said, if you do own a Chinese bike or perhaps you just have a different opinion to mine, I'd love to hear from you, so just drop a comment in the box below. And always, if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.